addressing is item 1F, is that correct?
Yes,
Highway roofing project?
yes. Let me get there. Hang on a second. I'm sorry.
How are you, Andy?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Just fine.
Good to
So,
see you again.
You ready,
All
Mayor?
right. Yep, go ahead.
So we updated this. We talked to Andy. Andy went on the roof in the heat with the Jeep, and they stood up there for, I don't know, it was pretty hot. Mindy and I were downstairs talking, having fun. And they were up there for a while, sweating pretty good. Taking a look at the roof, and he made several adjustments to this specification. And I'm just going to kind of go right to that section, Andy, that you worked on for us.
Great.
Okay. I'm going to try to fit the whole thing on the screen here. I know it might get a little small, but okay. You want to kind of go through this for us, Andy?
Yes, and Bob, do you have the photographs as well? There's a
Yeah.
there's a slideshow.
Yes, I have the photographs. If you want to.
We might want to start there and then come back to the text.
See if I can get the photograph on the screen. There you go.
Great. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I can.
So we did a pretty good walkthrough of it and looked at all the features, looked at the condition of the roof and actually both roofs. You know, there's two roofs. There's the high roof with the large square footage. It's about 4,500 square feet, and it's got the smaller roof that you can see in the black there, the black roof that is just to the south. So these red markers are the chimneys that are the flues that are on the building, and you can't really see those from the street, and they're in pretty bad condition. But you can. There's some section details here that we'll refer to as A type detail, and then B type detail. So Bob, if you can scroll down to the photographs. So this shows the conditions on the parapet wall, and you can see to the photograph to the left-hand side of the screen is the front parapet wall on the north, and it's got the really nice, unusual curved parapet. It's about 7 feet tall, and that is a beautiful architectural detail, but it's definitely challenging to flash into roof, that section specifically. So what we're proposing there is an acrylic-based elastomeric coating, and we've gotten a manufacturer specification for that, and it can be rolled on or sprayed on. We're recommending it be rolled on to seal it real good. And then right along that detail B at the bottom, there's a coping, a flashing detail that will seal up the, what we're proposing is a membrane roof to go over the bulk of the roof, and then take off these chimneys, remove the chimneys. Remove the chimneys down to the coping. And you can see the top of the wall is called a coping, and there's some close-up shots of the coping of the top of the wall. Sorry, background.
Hey, James, I think you have two things open there. You need to kind of, if you mute your mic, it would really help.
Okay.
If everybody could mute their mic if they're not speaking, that would help a lot.
You need to kind of maybe, you probably have your phone and your iPad on, James, and you're getting feedback between the two of them.
The phone is off. Okay.
Okay. I think we solved it. I don't know what was going on, but there you go. I think it's fixed.
Great. So what's unusual is we looked at the detail, there's just concrete parging that is troweled on the top of these copings, this top of the brick coping, so that there was never any, normally you would see limestone cap or a terracotta cap on top of buildings, historic buildings a lot of times. So this always had a cementitious coating on top of it. Bob, do you want to go to a few other the slides down the list? This just shows some other details that we were closing up the vent on the inside on that. This shows the lower roof in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, and that built-up roof where the window is. So we see those flashing detail markers. And then there's the decking is really in good shape. There's only 2 locations that are damaged where water has been ponding near the south side of the building. I want to go to the next slide. So you can see again that this slide to the left, the photograph really shows that
Bring me the cord.
cement parging.
On that iPad, I need it. Bring it right now. I'm at the film home.
And then again, removing these chimneys. So you want to go to the next one, Bob? Just a few more details, and then one more slide. So the picture to the right-hand side of the screen shows most of the roof. There's some vents that need to be preserved. So we're really, the best solution, we're recommending that a membrane roof be applied over ISO board. So that will get a good smooth slope, and it'll give you a long-term warranty. The specs are calling for a 20-year warranty on that roof. And then we're proposing that membrane run up the side of these low parapet walls, and then a metal coping be put over, a cap be put over the walls. So the only thing you'll see from the street really is just about 5 inches of dark metal that will cover up the layers of coating that you see in this photograph. You can see just that top layer of brick that over the years has been sealed and troweled on different waterproofing on top of each other. So I think
Andy, Mike French, you're talking about the metal on top of that cap.
yes, sir.
If we're going to use metal, could we not use a artificial metal terracotta type appearance?
Well, I think really it's going to look like just a band of along the top. You really won't be able to see it very much from the street. And this building never had a terracotta coping on it. The lower section did, but this building had always had this this brick coping with with some cement parched on the top of it to seal it. So it's really consistent, with the character rather than, coming back with terracotta. The other real challenge with with that type of material, these parapet walls are really very wide and they're very irregular. So they're about 18 inches wide, 18 to 20 inches wide, you can see. So we think that a metal coping is going to be the best solution. We can put blocking down and adhere to the coping to the blocking. And this shows some gutters along the south side, and this is the smaller section. So there's some wood that a new gutter and downspout needs to be applied, and then this wood needs to be rebuilt, and we can cover that wood with a cementitious siding, which is a long-lasting siding that can be painted, and that cementitious wood will look just like wood. We use it in historic districts all the time for wood to prevent rotting long term. But I think that's the extent of the photographs, right? So here's a couple of details, and this just shows the type of coping on the cap of the wall, and then some flashing details where we run the membrane roof up the face of the inside of the coping wall, up the parapet, and then some flashing details that the spray on the front wall will come down and seal over that flashing. So we were looked at just a spray on roof all over, and we're a little bit concerned that the longevity of that, and we were concerned that we couldn't get the type of warranty, the 20-year warranty that we were looking for. But Bob, if you want to go back to the
specifications itself.
So this is a very thorough spec that Bob put together, and we just I basically went through the scope of work sheet and made some comments on it, and made some edits. But it's very descriptive on the scope of work, and I think it's going to give the bidders, all a very good idea of what the scope is. So along with the photographs and the details, again, we're showing this half-inch ISO board, insulation board, that will go down and mechanically attach to the existing roof, and then the membrane, what we call a TPO membrane, will be adhered to that, and it's a roll roofing.
There are any questions for Andy?
Okay, if there are no questions, we will forward this on to the board for approval on Monday night.
Well, great. It's a beautiful building, and it was visionary for you guys to acquire it, and it's going to make it's in a key location on the square, and will make a great museum for the town.
And let me just tell the rest of the board, we talked about hiring an architect, and Andy has agreed to assist us with this building on just an hourly basis at this point, to advise us on some of the things that we're looking at and trying to do. So he's a welcome addition to the team, I think.
He can't wait for the inside. That's all I know.
Especially upstairs. I'm sure he wants to tackle that right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That could be beautiful, though. Really, upstairs could be gorgeous,
It could be.
I think.
if you haven't seen it, it's amazing how preserved it is.
It is.
The original trim work and all the woodwork, everything's plasters.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Even got
impressive.
some wallpaper left over. Hey, what about, did Andy, did you say anything about the grill, the decorative grill?
Yes, so there are grills, about a half a dozen grills on the outside of the
Right.
parapet wall. So
Right.
5 of those have been sealed up. So there's only one grill that has not been sealed from the inside. So what we would do is to prevent any flashing problems or leakage in the future is to block that out and seal it from the inside of the parapet wall and then paint that blocking black. So it'll still have depth from the front. You'll still see the grill and
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, be sure that we were still going to see the grill.
yeah, so it'll look consistent with the rest of them, and the membrane will cover it up on this inside.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Andy, were those grills, did they serve a function, or is that just decorative, or what is the purpose of those?
You know, there's different interpretations. Potentially, they could be overflow scuppers. You know, if there was if the roof flooded and gave some opportunity for water to be removed. But you know, a lot of times you see those grills, decorative grills, but they're below the roof line to
Right.
ventilate the attic. So I was thinking that's really what they were. Their function was to ventilate the attic, but most of them are above the roof line, you know, on the inside.
There's actually a music lyre there, I think, just from speaking from as a musician.
It
And that
is
kind of-
a music lyre.
It looks like a music lyre to me.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the brickwork and the detailing is just beautiful on this building.
It is pretty.
Are
there
you
you-
gonna work on those windows that look rotten?
I think that's another
Is that-
project.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
The
most
windows,
of it.
the windows are not in bad shape. The sills are in pretty rough shape, and you know
Mhm.
the outside of the the casing for the windows probably needs to be redone at some point.
Right.
Mhm.
That's what I was looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a
Those
lot
windows
of
are so gorgeous, though. We
Mhm.
got to get them fixed.
Preserve them, yeah.
Right.
yeah, if they're stripped, a lot of that chipping is really the peeling is what you see is the paint, but the wood is in really good shape. You know,
Good.
150-year-old hardwood. It's really great.
We can save the old brick. Save that one.
Are there any more questions? Okay, we'll move that forward to the board for Monday night. Andy, we appreciate you joining this team to help us with this building.
Great. We're excited about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks all. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good.
Okay, Jay Winters is with us to discuss which item?
I'm working on it, Mayor. This is the Transportation Alternative Grant, which is the Lakeview Road sidewalk going down to UT Martin.
Okay,
Right. So I met with y'all, I think back in November of last year, and we kind of went over this project and just the preliminary design. I met with Bob the other day, and he kind of wanted me to represent some of the modifications that we had talked about at that meeting. I think particularly the north side and some of the drainage issues that y'all wanted to take a look at. Does that sound familiar to everyone?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and Bob, I wish is there any way we can zoom in on that a little bit?
Sure.
On my screen, it kind of appears a little bit small. I hope everybody can see that.
Yeah, don't know if I can, it doesn't seem to, it's on a PowerPoint.
Right.
I'll tell you what
I
I'll do.
tried to split the screen there with the project so we could get a little bit more zoomed in.
I'm going to print it to Adobe and then I'll be able to zoom in.
Okay.
Just give me a second. All right, so I'm gonna undo this one, and I'm gonna bring up the Adobe. Hang on a second.
All right.
If I can find it. There it is. All right, now I can zoom in and out. All right, there's the
All right,
road.
good deal. Yeah, so that's just kind of the title sheet, kind of, the sidewalk project there. Really where everything is at is on the second sheet there. And really the bottom portion of the project there, we've got the match line that's just on Meadow Lane there that really all the modifications and changes that we've made to this project were made in kind of this area right in here. I believe the board y'all wanted curb and gutter all the way down Lakeview Road. And that caused a few of the drainage issues that we were working with to be a little bit more complicated, which not an issue, but just took a little bit of time to work all of the calculations and everything out. If you move just a little bit to the right there, Bob, yeah, there we go. There's a total of 4 catch basins that we've installed or showed to be installed there to collect all the water that would otherwise just be trapped on the road. And our plan is to take most of that water, and really it keeps going in the general direction that it goes as of right now. And that's down to the small pond down below the UT Martin Center, just below the park. It doesn't show up on this drawing. We don't have survey for that area, but it is it's south of this project. So really, those were the big changes. We've kind of scooted the sidewalk a little bit closer to the road there. That was in part, I know, talking with Bob, we kind of wanted to steer away from a lot of the landscaping and the maintenance. And the more grass you have in between your sidewalk and your road, the more maintenance that is for the city to cut the grass and everything like that. But really, those were the only big changes. When I met with y'all back in November, we were in the preliminary design phase. Since then, the NEPA document has been released, and so we're in the process of, we've submitted some preliminary plans. We've received comments back from TDOT, and now we're in the process of right-of-way plans, submitting those hopefully sometime late September, maybe early October, depending on how fast we can get some of the engineering on the photometrics and the lights done. So that's kind of the schedule.
So
I believe also we mentioned, go ahead. Do you have something to say, Bob?
So I think to make it clear, once we get to that next stage, we really can't make a lot of changes to this plan. Is that correct?
Correct. I mean, typically we say it's around 80 to 90% design-wise whenever we submit the next right-of-way plans. That, I've seen projects require more than that, bigger changes on down the road. But typically, from the owner's perspective, y'all kind of have an idea of, this is what we want moving forward. So not to say this is a speak now, forever hold your peace type. We can change things going forward, but this would be a great time if there were any issues or anything y'all wanted to tweak to say that now, and we could, kind of implement those changes. So, and if y'all have any comments or recommendations, by all means, please, we can kind of go over that and discuss that.
So Jake, I have a question. The
Yeah.
sidewalk here going across Lake Drive has to be inset because that crosswalk has to be inset from the intersection. Is that the problem?
Um,
Or is
really,
that just a
right in
drainage
there,
problem?
really, it's a utility. I believe there's a couple of utility poles, maybe a fire hydrant in that area.
Okay.
So we're
Okay.
kind of setting that back. We've taken a look on Lake Drive there, pretty much every intersection. Whenever you start pushing the stock condition a little bit further back, you have these sight distances. If there's, anything impeding, traffic from turning on to Lakeview Drive from Lake Drive, that sight distance is kind of, something we start to take a look at and to worry about there. But that should be fine. There's really nothing impeding vision or anything like that in that area.
Yeah, that Lake Drive is probably Meadow Lane, isn't it? Is it
No,
not Meadow
this-
Lane
I
No.
think Meadow Lane is just one down.
here?
Yeah, Meadow Lane.
I think it's
is
just the
the left.
just
on
your
the
left.
drawing.
That match line that.
Oh, there it
through
is. Okay,
there.
I got it.
Yeah.
I see it.
Right.
There it is.
And
Okay.
that's just to zoom in. I was really hoping that this would show up better as the PowerPoint and not have to zoom in. But I guess dealing with our smaller screens here on our laptops, it's a little bit more difficult to
Some
see.
people on telephones.
Right. Yeah, it's really hard to see then, isn't it?
Yeah.
So one other, I think last time we met, the issue, the original grant application obviously didn't include some of this drainage improvements. So we had discussed requesting extra funds from TDOT at that time. Since then, Bob and I have worked out, we've requested an extra $100,000 to complete these drainage improvements from TDOT, and that has been approved by TDOT.
All right.
So as of right now, we are in budget, which is always a good
Great.
thing to hear. I know.
Because we were actually originally considering adding the extra $100,000 on our own at some point, right?
Right. And so the great part about this is, every time TDOT reimburses everything at 80/20, so you really get a lot more for your technically TDOT is really only providing 80,000, but they're going to reimburse the other 20. So or
Jake, I have
other
one more
80.
question. We talked about this last week. This area here where that little parking lot is over there, are you going
Right.
to asphalt that and then line it? Is that what you're planning to do?
That's the plan. I'm going to try to sell it to TDOT as that, at least. So as part of the TDOT transportation alternative, the grant really focuses on pedestrian and bicycle lanes, things like that, more so than actual paving improvements. What the grant will reimburse is whenever you're tearing up driveways or you're putting up putting a sidewalk through part of a parking lot. Because we're putting that sidewalk, we're going to have to make some improvements to that concrete pad that's existing. So in my eyes, that should be something that TDOT would approve. But there's always that qualification there where TDOT doesn't necessarily act in the most reasonable way sometimes. Going forward, I believe we can make that, since it's only 1 to 4 parking spots approximately right in there. I don't think that would be an issue, especially striping it, and I don't foresee TDOT having an issue with putting in a few extra parking spots right there and reimbursing that expense. Are there any other questions or anything?
Okay, so do we need to take this to the board for approval Monday night?
It's 2 Monday nights away.
Or is this just informational?
I think this is just informational, Mayor, because we already
Right,
kind of approved this to move forward with this anyway. I just wanted to make sure that if anybody wanted to make any additional changes, that we had one last shot to do it. So I
Right.
think he's done everything here we asked him to do at the last time he was in town, when we actually had a live meeting, I think, at that point. So
Right.
that was probably one of the last live meetings we had, I guess. So anyway, I think it's just informational, Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, and,
Okay,
and I
so-
guess one final thing, I know everybody wants to know whenever this kind of is planning on to be in construction. Depending on how long TDOT takes with their review process and everything, I foresee this project probably starting construction sometime next spring. There is one easement we have to acquire from the Church of Christ, just because some of the utilities are in the way and we have to dodge those. But it should be a relatively simple easement process, right-of-way acquisition and all that. So it should be pretty straightforward, and hopefully we're into construction by next spring.
Okay,
That sounds great.
sure does.
A good deal. I think hopefully y'all can see some of the improvements down there on the first phase of the TA, and y'all have been happy with that. So hopefully this is just a continuation of that process.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we appreciate you being with us tonight.
All
Thank you,
right.
Jake.
Thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have Jim here and we have Jeep here, so.
I think we need to maybe have Jim talk about the zoning ordinance. We discussed last time that paragraph on the BZA. And I'm going to try to find it here. Hang on. Oh, it's at the beginning here. Sorry. Right here. This paragraph right here where it refers to the writ of crematorium, wherever it is. Would you like to talk a little bit about that, Jim?
Sure. Yes, I know there's been some interest in how to handle appeals of BZA decisions. There's sort of a standard way to do it that typically it's known that you take it straight to court. The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-judicial board, so the next sort of rung on the ladder is the court system. However, when trying to quickly show where that is in TCA, there's nowhere to be found. So I don't think there's a hard and fast requirement that that's the only mechanism to do that. But it's the most standard way to do it, to take it directly to court. So Bob and I both did some research looking around at other cities in Tennessee and how they handle appeals from the Board of Appeals. I would say the majority that we found did that. It's had language in there simply sending appeals straight to the court system. But there are a couple of exceptions in different cities that had a right to a rehearing, or an application for a rehearing was one way to do it, and had a little bit longer language in that, and how an applicant would qualify for a rehearing. But Bob, I believe you had those options in the packet this time.
Yeah. Hang on a second. The options that you gave me, Jim?
Yes.
Yes. So here's some other options for adding a section which would come in after this section, which would address appeals of BZA findings.
So I think it's more or less trying to get direction from the board on how you like to handle it. I guess the conclusion we've drawn into, there's a few different ways to handle it. Again, the most common way is to send it to the court system, but there is another way to possibly have language for the rehearing. You see that there, Bob scrolling, the request for rehearing. It's kind of a long process. You have to get an approval first on why you should have a rehearing or should be granted a rehearing. And a lot of that is based on, is there new evidence that wasn't available at the time of the first hearing? You definitely don't want to have somebody keep on coming back and back and back with no changes in the amount of evidence or the application or anything. It's just going to be constantly sending them away. So if something changed after a denial occurred, then this would give you a process to bring it back to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We believe it's also possible, if you'd like an appeal to be heard by the elected body. Again, that's not common, and I failed to find any language in the state that had that specifically. Maybe one possibility to do that, but again, that's not common at all. So again, I'd probably look for direction of the board with the understanding that we could probably take this a few different directions.
So I made some staff recommendations here. I'm going to just take a look at that, my staff recommendations, and of course anybody can agree or disagree with me. When we originally talked about the zoning ordinance itself, we really weren't addressing. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at the right section here. Hang on a second. All right. This is the way, right here is what that section read as originally, which did have, it's originally written like this. The yellow area in this area right here is what we deleted as part of our recommendation to the board. We did not touch this area right here at all. We really didn't consider it.
I don't know what you're talking about when you say this area. But,
Okay, I'm sorry. In the appeals process of board zoning appeals, which is section 14.2-107 of our current zoning ordinance, this language right here was the original language in the zoning ordinance that's in there right now. All right, Board of Zoning Appeals approval. What we deleted was which is identified as permissible by appeal or. So we just deleted that, and we then took that paragraph and added unless otherwise specified in this ordinance. So we took that paragraph up here, this first one, and all we really did was remove that language there and that language there to come up with the language that we proposed in ordinance, the ordinance that we're proposing to be added to the zoning ordinance. So, I personally think that the board, the planning commission ought to take a deeper look into this. We ought to consider just approving it the way the planning commission asked us to approve it, and then go back to the planning commission and do more detailed work on this rather than just try to stick something in the ordinance that we haven't really reviewed enough, or the planning commission hasn't reviewed. We would create a step-by-step process for appealing a decision by the BZA, which would probably end in court at some point. So what I'd like to do, what I think the planning commission would probably like to do, would be to discuss this in greater detail and come up with a step-by-step plan on how to bring things to the BZA in the first place, and then how to appeal those decisions if necessary. So what I'm thinking is that if we just leave it the way it's in the current ordinance that we're proposing, then we could come back at a later date and fix it with a recommendation from the planning commission. Does that make sense to everybody? It started to not make sense to me after I was kept on talking.
Bob, are you saying that we need to approve this, or not approve it and just send it back to the planning commission?
No, what I'm thinking is that we should just approve the ordinance 2020-06 as presented by the planning commission with that language in there, since it was already in there to begin with the writ of Sarah, whatever the name of that is.
certiorari.
Certiorari, okay, sounds good to me. Certiorari language was already in the zoning ordinance, and then have planning commission come back with another recommendation to expand on that area of the zoning ordinance, which is the BZA, what the BZA is allowed to do.
Okay. My feeling is we just need to send it back to the planning commission and not approve it at all.
Well, of course, we've had lots of problems with our current zoning ordinance, and we've been trying to get this settled by bringing in all those additional uses, because the original ordinance, it was very difficult to administer. If we adopted what the Planning Commission has approved, we're really not changing the Board of Zoning Appeals at this point, or where the appeals go to. I mean, that's what we currently have. So if we adopted what has been presented, we're not changing anything on the Board of Zoning Appeals at this point. It would be my suggestion that the board does not want to get involved in appeals from the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals normally has, they're charged with following what the law says, and they're created just to handle those situations that, because of changes in zoning and different things, create problems for lots or buildings that would not have existed had the zoning not changed. And so when people start asking for variances, the Board of Appeals looks at the law, looks to see what the variance is, and if it's permissible, they can grant it. If it's not, they can't. And I don't know why the board would want to get into that area myself.
Mayor, my feeling is that we represent the people who would be coming in front of us. And I think they would feel a lot better about it than appointed officials making the decisions.
Well, but what they're going to be asking you to do is to make political decisions based on who they are and what they want to do, regardless of what the rules say. And then the question becomes, how much does the board want to be put in that position of having to decide against their neighbors on a situation that, in a lot of cases, may be fairly clear cut in the ordinances. There's a reason most city boards don't get into that area.
I agree with you, Ronnie. That would be tough to have it come before the board.
Right, especially if it was
They're not,
a friend or a neighbor.
I
Right.
mean, they're going to be coming to you, wanting you to let them, instead of have a 15-foot setback, they're going to have some reason that they only should have to have a 10-foot setback. And legitimately, there won't be any real reason for you to grant that variance, which would mean that if you follow the spirit of the law, you've got to turn them down. I've always said I never did understand why anybody wanted to be on the Board of Zoning Appeals, because your job is to basically say no. Is that not right, Jim?
No, that's absolutely right. On the flip side, though, the rules are so prescribed in such detail that it's hard to make interpretation and judgment calls on a lot of it. It's very black and white typically. And I do agree, it is difficult to have the pressure of making more of a political decision, or what even might seem reasonable, because state law sets out the criteria that must be followed for granting a variance. So it is very black and white and very prescribed in TCA on what those rules are. And honestly, doing the research, I was a little surprised. It wasn't very clear that a BZA appeal would go straight to the court system, because that's just, that's sort of standard practice for that very reason, to keep it separate from the political process.
I've got a question. So you're saying that the Board of Zoning and Appeals, that's what they're appointed for, correct? To make these decisions based on what the zoning ordinances are. Is that correct?
That's right. Well,
Okay,
there, a
so,
lot of times what they get into, Jason, is a lot that was created in 1955.
yeah,
That because the zoning has changed over the last 50 years, suddenly if you applied the rules, that lot would be unbuildable. But the lot was
yeah,
created before the zoning was adopted. So you would go to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which would grant you variances to the current zoning because the lot existed before the current zoning.
yeah, and that would just, if somebody, if that ever occurred, somebody would just basically have to petition the board to change the zoning on it. Is that correct?
Well, no, actually, in most cases that the Board of Zoning Appeals would hear, it wouldn't, you wouldn't be changing anything.
Okay. So in theory, the board itself really does not need to be involved for the fact that that's the reason why we've appointed this, BZA for this purpose, correct?
That's my opinion.
That, do we need to move this to next week and vote on just to let them handle this, or can we just table it and let it be as it is?
Well, of course, I would like to see us go ahead and adopt the ordinance because most of the ordinance has nothing to do with this. This is
Okay.
a separate issue. And if we adopted the amendment, we're not actually changing from the way things are today. So then if we want to go back and discuss this in more detail, let's take that up as a separate matter. But meanwhile, we will have made the changes in the zoning ordinance that will make it much easier to administer.
Okay. I just suggest we move this to the board then for that reason next week.
Okay, and we can continue the discussion next week.
Yeah.
Mayor, may I just say something really quickly here?
Sure.
It's 2 weeks away, not next week. Since the board meeting is on the second Monday of the month, it's the 14th is the second Monday. Next week is Labor Day, and it'll be on the 14th of the month.
All
So
right, well, I'll probably
got an
keep
extra week in
referring to
between.
I'll probably keep referring to next Monday, but everybody
I know, but
understand that's
some people
not
are
right.
they might show up on the 8th. Who knows?
You mean they'll be sitting at their computer looking for a Zoom meeting?
I just want to make sure that everybody knows it's 2 weeks away,
Okay,
not 1 week away.
okay. Any
Because
other
everybody should keep
questions?
saying next week.
Any
Sorry, go
other,
ahead.
any other questions on this while Jim's available?
No.
Okay, well, we've got 2 weeks. I assume you're going to be doing some more research, Bob and Jim, between now and then as far as
Yes,
this
sir.
goes? Or you may have finished your research. You may have looked everywhere you can, but.
No, I think we need to, the planning commission wants us to do some research on the administrative part of that zoning ordinance. So
Right,
I think this is going to be part of that,
okay,
Yeah,
how
I
we
agree.
handle different aspects of the zoning ordinance.
okay. All right, then we will, in 2 weeks, we will take this up at the board meeting. Any other questions? Okay, thank y'all. Thank you, Jim.
You're very welcome. Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. All right, and next is Jeep. Is that what you requested?
Yes, sir.
You know, I'm not going to have any idea where we are in the agenda by the time we get through with this, right?
I'll try to keep you up to date there if you try to do the same thing over again.
Okay.
Good morning, good evening, everyone.
Jeep's in the office with me, so.
It'll be nice when we get to meet again and get to see each other in person. It's extremely busy time in the world. I don't believe we've ever been this busy. We're playing a lot of catch up from being off or half the staff being off for roughly 2 months. I think that the staff is doing really well in keeping up. Ms. Sandra, I understand there were some, I'll address the cemetery first. we're cutting it every 2 weeks, 10 days to every 14 days. Some weeks that's not enough, and we have excessive grass. I've been talking to some landscapers for next year on how to address the weed control, the heavy grass in certain areas, and have received a lot of very good and helpful feedback that I think will help us maintain the cemetery better in the coming years if we continue to maintain it.
Yeah.
Another issue that we've been having out there is, there are rules and guidelines that each family is supposed to be going by when it comes to decorations and stuff that's allowed and not allowed on at grave sites. And
Right.
we have a whole lot of illegal decorations that blow everywhere. It's become a real bad problem. I've spoken with Betsy Rice's office about getting us some community service help. They are very interested in helping us. They have many folks that need it and have been backlogged because of the COVID-19. But this being an outside a job and basically a weekend, something that will be allowed to be done on weekends, they are very interested in helping the town of Somerville. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm aware of the problem and we are working on it. Every department has been helping Tony and the Public Works Department. They've all participated in helping to try and help keep the cemetery looking good and maintained.
I know, and it's been a lot of rain off and on, and kept you from getting in there. And then when you do cut it, it's just like some places in my yard. It looks like a hay, it dries and it looks brown. It's a hay field, and you hadn't got time to rake. And I know that
we've
people
been trying
don't
to cut it. We've been trying to go over it again with and disperse the grass a little better here lately. It's getting towards the end of the season, but like I said, I got a plan that I think that will work for next year, and we're gonna continue to try and do better. And because our cemetery is a beautiful historic place, and also the families that have are still being buried there deserve a place of that looks
really
good.
well kept, right?
Yes,
and I know that some people are not placing flowers where they need to, and when our guys are mowing in a couple of sections, they'd have to get off the mower and move the flowers at every tombstone. And I know that's just something they're probably not going to do. It'd take too much time. I understand that. But then, somebody comes up there and there's flowers that have been cut and they're everywhere. And, they call me and I defend you, believe me. And, but maybe we ought to put some rules in the paper, in an ad, and say this is how flowers should be done. I mean, I know some people lost small children, and I understand their heartache, but they can't have 8 things around the little tombstone.
Yes, ma'am, and those rules are really spelled out clearly.
In the ordinance.
And I was also thinking that maybe a small or a temporary type sign at the entrances to remind.
I don't know if they'd stop and look at it, but we could try that, and also put something in the Falcon and try to get it close to the front page or something. Rules of the cemetery, and I don't know. I mean, probably the people don't even know that.
Oh, I was going to say that. They probably don't even know the rules.
No, right. That's what I'm saying.
Well, if I could get with Mindy, and I think between the two of us, and would, if it's all right with y'all, for us to put together something that's appropriate and respectful, and
Right. And it might not hurt to talk to Michael at the funeral home, and maybe he could put out something concerning the flowers. You know,
yes, ma'am.
I don't know, and you know, I just don't know. But anyway, I know y'all work hard on it. I'm not faulting y'all. I'm just making phone calls when people call me and they're all upset.
Nobody does that.
Oh no, never.
Are
Well,
we
yes,
still,
ma'am. I just wanted you to know that, you know, it is a concern, and we are working on it.
I know. Okay, well, that's all you can do, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
are we still providing the cemetery with those cemetery booklets to give to each person?
I
No,
don't
but we
know.
can start doing that.
Well, that was
I
the
don't
whole
think we
purpose.
do.
That was the whole purpose of those books, was so that people would know what the rules are. Because
Well, we
the
still have
rules-
thousands of them.
Well,
Well,
the
I
rules
think
are
that
in the
would be
back.
that would be great to go back and do that.
Because Keith sells all of them, and Tony deals with some people, but we can make sure that Keith gives them out to everybody.
That would be a great idea.
Well, we ought to give some.
I didn't know we ever did that, Ronnie, or I would have. I just didn't know that.
We bought those books back in probably 90 or 91.
Uh-huh.
The whole purpose of that was to give everybody, when they bought a lot or when someone was buried there, was to give the family a history of the cemetery, and in the back are the rules of the cemetery.
Well, we need to start doing that again then, for sure. And Keith could do it when he sells a plot. That would be
Right.
great. And maybe even the funeral home could offer it to the family.
They
I don't
could,
know.
I think that would make it, and then we may have to do some enforcement to
Right.
get it across. We've had a couple of things happen up there that have increased the maintenance in a couple of areas that we got to make sure we don't let happen again. People
What is that?
blocking off. Well, we've got a couple of places where people have installed the old, the little fence, not fences, but it's a monument, but it's all the way around their lot, which means you can't get in there with I guess we're having to cut those basically by hand, aren't we?
Yeah, weed whack them, yes.
So, you wind up cutting the whole cemetery with a weed eater, which we just can't do. Chief,
Right.
how many hours does it take to cut the grass? Do you have an idea on that?
I do. Before we started helping Tony, it took them 2 days, a day and a half of hard cutting. That was just with Tony's crew. And so Chris, myself, Cecil, maintenance team, some of the gas guys started going up there every time that we knew they were going to have to do it. And we all pitch in, every weed eater, every man that can be spared goes and does it now and to help. But and they can get it done in less than a day with a lot of help.
Well, but I
So
need
probably 6 hours with everybody helping. Otherwise, it takes 2 days.
That's with like 15 people doing it.
And you are going to have to weed eat it about every 3 weeks, probably.
Oh, no,
Because
man. We have
grass-
to weed eat it every time.
Every time, yeah.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
grass grows up right around the tombstones, and if it's not done, it just doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't.
All right, so we have how many people on the crew that it takes 2 days?
6.
So that's 90 hours, 95 hours, man hours.
Yeah, that's about right. Yes.
Okay.
16 times 6. That's 96.
All right. All right, Jeep, did you have anything else?
Yes, sir. I understand that there were some questions about the gas department wanting to purchase another plow, even though we had purchased one well, we put it into service in December of 18. This is a vibratory plow. There's only 2 manufacturers that make these particular pieces of equipment. And quite frankly, it's the bread and butter of our gas department. And also, quite frankly, a mistake was made by assuming that this one's going to be the new go-to plow. There are several reasons for it. First off, since 18, we've only put 79 hours on it. That's roughly 10 days. It is just not built to undergo the amount of work we're putting on it each day, each week, each month, and each year. I'll give you some statistics real quick of since December of 18, just 20 months, not counting this month. We put in 36,219 feet of service line. That's 6.86 miles, averaging almost 100 feet per service, 390 meters. Guys, that's almost $500,000 worth of just service line and installation of the meter. That's not counting any sales.
Any sales of gas?
Any sales of gas, right. Alan, I've talked to Alan, I've talked to Justin. The smaller plow, it's a 45 horsepower plow, is just not strong enough. I'm going to read you what the guys wrote for me. The digging depth will not reach some of the gas mains with the backhoe. The tractor, it doesn't have enough power to pull the 24-inch blade. The shaker box does not have an articulating head and is built too light to hold up to what we do on an annual basis, on a daily basis, rather, excuse me. It's too short to reach the hole, not enough hydraulic pressure. The tire size is too small for the wet terrain. And as you all know, it's been extremely wet the last 2 years. And this tractor is getting stuck and does not have enough power to pull itself out with. Its wheelbase is too narrow it makes it top heavy on the grades. The older plow that has been our workhorse, it's 12 years old. The one we kept. The digging depth, it's a 55 horse. It's 6.5 feet deep. It'll reach 90% of the main. It has the horsepower. It's bigger and it does the job, guys. It's just built better. It's kind of, I compare the newer plow that we bought to like buying a residential type piece of equipment, not commercial. It's your decision, of course. But these guys have requested it, that they realize that a mistake was made. And I think we need to, my opinion is we need to approve a new plow and move on. Sell this one and let's keep rolling. We're putting in new subdivisions every week. You know, we're getting plans and sending them to Heathcote and Davis. And so there's no slowing in sight. And like I said, 390 services have been put in since December of 18.
Okay, any questions?
What is Mike French? What is the brand of the other plow, the older plow?
We've always had ditch witches, Mr. French.
Okay.
Vermeer did bid on this last tractor. They would have won. However, you know, we traded in 2 older tractors, and Ditch Witch gave us more money on the trade-ins, if you'll remember. That's a few,
That's
you know,
right.
2 years ago.
That's right.
Right.
Um,
I remember that.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yes, sir.
Well, Toro has since bought Ditch Witch. So, you know, they're trying to get back into it. They're doing some stuff. I talked to a guy 2 weeks ago. He called City Hall. He sought us out. So, you know, I think that, but right now there's only 2 manufacturers. That's Ditch Witch and Vermeer.
Case is not in the business anymore.
No, sir.
Okay.
I think we ought to move it to the board.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there any more discussion?
I got one statement or question for Jeep. What is the policy of wearing our reflective vest while we're out on the street? Are our guys supposed to be wearing them?
If they have on their reflective shirt, well, not reflective shirts, if they have on their neon orange shirts, neon yellow shirts, then we don't require them to wear the vest. I like for them to wear the vest all the time. I do.
Yeah.
But a lot of them wear the orange or yellow shirts.
Oh, okay. I think a couple guys that didn't have nothing reflective. Just please reiterate the safety of that, because if they're not wearing their safety equipment and they get hurt, then the liability might fall back on them. I don't want nobody getting hurt, period. And I just hate to see, them not, adhering to the safety rules if we have some in place, if you don't mind.
Not at all. And I thank you. We tell them that all the time.
Like I said, I'm not trying to point nobody out or nothing, but I just want everybody to be safe and wear their safety equipment, one for the city's sake, and then 2 for their sake as well. I just don't want nobody getting hurt. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Jeep, did you have anything else?
I didn't, sir. Thank you for letting me jump line. We have a state inspection first thing in the morning. He's coming about 7 o'clock.
Gas, water, sewer,
Sewer.
what? Sewer?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've already had our gas and water inspections this year. We got 100 in the water, and we did not get any
findings?
findings in gas again.
Okay.
Or I think
good.
the 4th year in a row, I believe.
Well, good. Thank the guys for us,
Yes, sir.
and tell them to put on their safety equipment.
Yes, sir. And we got your sidewalks fixed, so feel free to please change your walking route now.
I'll change my route so that I can find additional work for you.
Yes, sir.
Or you can go the other way one more time so you can admire the new sidewalks.
I've already been over it.
Oh, okay.
Jeep tells me that every time I go walking, I create work for Public Works.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, we'll start at the top, finance. You have your financials there in front of you.
Yep, it's first month of the year, so there's not a lot to talk about. I have started a budget amendment tally sheet that I've been keeping track of expenses that have already gone over or are close because of basically healthcare issues. So, and insurance was higher than expected. So I've already kind of broken that all out to each department and gotten that ready to go, because I know at some point we're going to need a budget amendment. So I'm just kind of putting it all together for when we need to do it, so we can do it at one shot sometime at the beginning of the calendar year, January, February, somewhere in there. that's all I have as far as the financials go. Anybody have any questions on the financials so far?
Mayor, I have a statement about the financials.
All right.
It appears we spent $6,000 on an older Tahoe. I talked to Bob and he didn't know what it was for. He said he remembered the purchase order, but he didn't remember what it was for. And, you know, I mean, if an older vehicle is going to do something like that, we ought to just sideline it and not spend that money, that much money on it.
Well, if we're going to sell it, it helps us sell it better if it's running. And that's a lot of money, though. We won't get that.
That's a lot of money. I mean, I don't
We
know
will
what
not get the
I still don't know
$6,000.
what it's for, but what was
I don't
done,
remember.
but
I have to talk to Chief about that. I'll let you know. I'll see you in the
Okay.
morning. I have a staff meeting in the morning, and I'll talk to him.
Okay, thank you.
He's trying to connect, it looks like, or is connecting.
I don't know what he's doing. He's been trying to connect since about 6:45. So I think
Okay.
he's not there.
Okay. All right, any other comments, questions on the finance side? Expense line item overruns already.
We had an individual had a health issue, so that was that's the match, the copay is what it's over on. Previously, the previous 2 years, the cemetery, those people have spent less than $100 in each one of those areas in the last few years, and I just budgeted accordingly. So that's why it's over, but that's already on my list to amend the budget.
Okay. Capital projects and purchases.
We reviewed the specification on the roof. We've completed the awning already. We're working on the design of the middle roof of UT Martin. Computer system for the vehicle, for the police vehicles. Chief is working on that, trying to coordinate that with the county so we could be on the same system with them so we can actually work together with them. Anything else? I mean, we had the final walkthrough for the 2015 sidewalk grant. So it says complete, but it's virtually complete. You know, all they do is finish the list. We had the pre-bid meeting. I mean, the pre-construction meeting for the gas phase 7 today. We're still working on the electric building redesign, remodel, the specs on that. The Jeep ordered the half-ton pickup truck, and we're reviewing this. We reviewed the specs for the vibratory plow. We have not started working on the Mini X yet. So we're pretty much what we did budget. We're pretty much in progress or completed a lot of it.
Okay, any questions on that? Sales tax.
I think we had the biggest month ever. If you look at it, I thought it was going to be 60,000 because it's a little bit more than 1%. They take out probably 1.5%. So
You didn't miss it by far.
I didn't miss it by much. I used my 1% thingy on that. Anyway, I just estimated, but that's, we've already done. We're on pace to do $700,000 this year in sales tax. I don't think we'll get there, but you never know. I mean, that's what we're on pace to do right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if that continues on.
I'll
much-
say, be
how much
extremely
it
interesting.
does.
How much did you say, Bob, that we were?
We're on pace right now to do $700,000. I'll tell you
Oh,
the
okay.
exact amount in just a second here.
That's okay. I just was,
$702,000 is what we're on pace to do.
that's awesome.
And of course, you can look at the history, and we've never come close to that before. Last year was the biggest year at 562. So That's since '06. Of
Now,
course, as inflation.
a lot of that increase in the last 2 years would be due to the online sales tax.
I think so. I think
Say-
online sales have about doubled since in the last couple of years. So yeah,
Well, see, and they just approved a rule. The rule was if you did over 500,000 in Tennessee, you had to collect it.
Yep.
They've just changed it to 100,000, so that
Wow.
should bring in even more.
wow. And in reality, I think the virus has kept people from driving to Memphis. They're shopping in town.
Right.
They're shopping locally, like we've always said. Hey, shop local.
Yeah.
I bet Angie's never had a year like she's had this year.
Right.
I mean,
A
they
lot of
got
people.
stuff going out of there like wildfire.
Right. They're
You
not
look at
driving
it
to
one
Memphis.
day, it's not there the next day.
Yep. Yeah, it's incredible.
Okay. Review the list of surplus vehicles and equipment.
So we have four surplus vehicles that we'd like to sell. They're all police vehicles. The black pickup truck, that's an '08. And then the last 3 Crown Victorias that we have left in inventory. No, they're not. He changed his mind on that. Chief was considering keeping one, but we're not doing that. We've got 13. Right now we have 13 Tahoes. And I think we're okay on vehicles when we sell all this stuff. And then in the shed behind the police headquarters are all of these Crown Victoria parts that we can get rid of. We can either scrap them or sell them. I think it's mostly scrap because there's no place to sell them. They haven't made a Crown Vic in 10 years. So nobody's really doing them anymore. They don't really need this stuff anymore. It doesn't fit the modern vehicles. We just need to empty that shed out. So that's everything police related here.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, we will move that to the board for approval. Item F is the roofing project, which we've done. Item G is phase 2 cemetery headstone repair.
Mendy, you want to talk about this since you're here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We had, we posted, this in the Falcon as well as the social media. We had overwhelming response for the phase 1 of the repair and cleaning of the monuments. And what this is basically, I believe it's around $4,500. We've got several projects on here that, I'm hoping you all would be interested in being approved. This is directly taken from Crone Memorial's submission to us, and the prices are all there. But if you just take a look through some of these photos, it tells you exactly, it's kind of an a la carte menu. This is the majority of what we looked at the first time around. These were the major repairs that needed to be done by professionals. So again, I have talked to a bricklayer, and they are interested in giving us kind of an idea of how much we will be looking at to prepare that.
So all those, Mendy, all those right there were $3,750.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then the phase 3, I think that's, I don't know, 15. Honestly, don't remember. I did this more than a couple of days ago. So
1650.
1650, yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And then phase 4 would be to, correct and rebuild, repair those tombs.
Yeah, that's a major project.
And there's a picture. Yes. And we wanted to be able to get a spec from someone that we've worked with before, so we would get that. And obviously, I think that would probably go to bid. And we would need to start raising some money. We have had one donation from Ms. Laura Winfrey because she liked the work that we did. She appreciated it. And we've gotten 5 or 6 phone calls from people asking for their information so that they can have the repairs done to their families. So people are paying attention to that.
How many complaints did we get about cleaning those monuments?
I didn't get any
There
complaints.
were a couple that
I
said they
haven't
missed the
heard any.
patina, but I was assured. Yeah, I got a couple, but they weren't complaints really. They just made comments that, oh, the patina's gone. I think the patina will be back quicker than we expect.
Yeah.
One winter.
Yeah. One good summer of growth.
That's right.
Okay.
So if we did both, we're considering doing one project, just phase 2 at this time, and then coming back and doing phase 3 later on. Combined, they're $5,400 if we did both of them now, which we would have to get a couple more bids to do that. There aren't many places around that can do this kind of work, pick up those stones and that kind of stuff. So we did check with a local person, but they don't have the capability of moving those stones and putting them back together again. So they can clean them, but we also bought some buckets of cleaning material that we may actually try ourselves.
Well, let's be careful.
You can
about
clean them
cleaning.
yourself because I
Yeah.
clean my parents all the time.
Yeah.
With the
It's a
scrub
spray
brush
on.
and just some any kind of cleaner.
Yeah.
Hey Bob, did you ever ask anybody about that Burnett stone? It's not the Burnett's. It's not the Ray Burnett's. It's another Burnett. It's in the 3rd section, and the stone has literally dropped about 1.5 feet on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I did talk to somebody, but I don't remember what the outcome of that was, Sandra.
Well, I don't think
I'll
it's
look
been
into that
fixed
again.
yet.
Where is that located again?
In about the 3rd section from the front, right
Okay.
there toward the front of that section.
Okay, I'll look at it.
It's just about 2 rows over from the street if you're facing west.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it looks like it just sunk.
Yeah, it seems like there's another one up there that's done that too, but I don't remember now where it is.
Yeah, we'll look into that, Sandra.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So Crone has given, this is the Crone estimate.
Right, so the first
Yes.
phase, which included all those other ones, phase 2 included all of these, fixing all these areas that are listed up here, would be $3,750. Let me just bring back the price, make sure I got it right. Yes, $3,750. And then if we wanted to do the next phase in a little while, and we can maybe, as we're cleaning this stuff up, people will want to donate more money, because I think, now we have we've reinstated our cemetery fund, and we're using that money to pay for these repairs.
Well, the thing they did the first phase, right?
Yes.
They did such a good job on that.
Yeah. They did a great job.
But you're getting other estimates, right? Did
No,
you
we
say
haven't, well, we did speak to a local person, but they don't have the capability of
okay, good.
raising the stones and putting them up.
Well, I like the way Crohn's did it.
Well, you see this one right here, this obelisk is on the ground.
Yeah.
They have no way to fix that or to put these stones back together. I'm trying to come up with some other ones here. Hang on a second.
Yeah.
So repairing this stone here and making sure it stays up still. This is off. Yeah, there's the base to that. So they have no way of fixing that. They have to level this base, and that thing, who knows how much that thing weighs right there by itself.
Yeah,
Uh,
but Crohn's can do that, right?
yes,
Oh,
they have the
yeah.
equipment to do that.
Yeah, okay. Good.
Okay, so we'll move this on to the board for decision. Any more questions? Okay, we'll move that to the board for a decision. Tennessee Downtown Grant Project.
Yes, so basically this is, this, at some point in the next month or so, we're going to need to tell the downtown committee what we're interested in doing. These are a few items that were mentioned in our downtown meeting last month. And we just wanted to get a feel for what the board, you know, is interested in pursuing. And if you're not, I did get in touch with Ken Goldsby and to check about a copyright on that mural. He said that there is not a copyright on that. He said it was actually created after the blanket. I guess the blanket was first, and then whoever created that, he just kind of took that with it, you know, and made the mural. I'm hoping to get in touch with him. I've sent an email again Monday wanting to set up a time to speak to him. But a mural he's very interested in doing. He said, you know, we could certainly incorporate parts of that older mural, but then modernize that to a degree. Mayor, I saw the mural that you sent. It's great looking. You know, I don't know if we want to go that modern, but again, it's up to the board. So what I would do.
I just sent that. That wasn't a suggestion. That was just so you could
Well,
see
right.
what somebody else
And I
is
thought
doing.
it was great. I mean, it was very well done. Another idea besides that mural is to have Ken or another sign company create the older look of the Fair Theater by placing theater and the lines next to it. I think that would be really neat. We all know that the fair is a theater, but maybe not everybody does. And kind of add a splash to that building. So that, and this would certainly, this grant would, they would approve of something like that. So that's an option. And then we could think about also adding a mural to David Newby's side of the building. Obviously, this is just me playing around. But you know, that is an option. That would probably be one of the last options I would be looking at, just because we don't own that, you know, portion. And I wouldn't want to take away from Nationwide, but that's an option. Adding 4 benches to the Somerville Square. I did find out, and this is later on, but the Tennessee Care Act tourism, that is not an approvable item. So this would be on that downtown grant. We were looking at the sidewalks. We only have 4 areas that would be ADA compliant to allow for 4 benches. And I'll show you that with the Tennessee CARES Act where those areas would be. But does anyone have any suggestions or something that you feel that $15,000 would be useful on, or make a fairly large impact to our square?
What, I was going to ask you, what would the mural cost? I mean, how many of those projects could we do?
I think we could do all of them.
Okay.
We couldn't do the David Newby mural, but we could probably do the theater and the side, you know, the museum side mural. And I think we could do the benches. I think we could do all 3.
I think that'd be a great starting point.
I do too.
I think it would be the biggest impact for the square, and it's not something that most state grants will pay for. They told us they normally look down upon murals. But
really?
You know, this is for, yeah, for whatever reason, they usually, TNECD doesn't like to do things like that because they feel like it's messing with historic buildings and things like that. And I understand that, but we're wanting to kind of recreate the past in, you know, with the theater and the mural. I don't know how long that mural was around there on the museum side, but
I don't remember either.
Ken, you think we could light that theater sign?
there
You think we could
is.
put the little LED, some kind of
Yes.
LED light thing up there to
So
light that?
what I did was I spoke to Ken. He owns a sign company, and there are some LED lights that if you were to encase them, you would not see them. And many, even in Las Vegas, they use them. They are strip lights that are LED. You can have them constant with no flashing. You can have some flashing. They take minimal electricity, but basically you would have to encase them or do something with them to affix them to the mural. I think on the theater, it would look more like a marquee, and it would be a very low cost way to do that. I also found out that to replace the Fair Theater awning, that is only $2,100. So that is also an option. When I was creating this slideshow, I didn't have that quote yet, so I didn't want to give you more information than what I had. But so a new awning would also be an option.
That would really make it look good.
That
Yeah.
would. That would be
On top
great.
of the theater being written under there, that would really be dressy. And the lights.
Yeah,
Probably change it completely.
I think it would. And then, you know, a year or so down the road, when we apply for that facade grant of $100,000, we would be able to do so much to the Fair Theater. And then we could, you know, if business owners were interested in chipping in a percentage, you know, 25%, we'll pay for 75%. We could replace all of the awnings on the square and still have it left over. Because I was shocked when they said it was only $2,100 to replace that awning with labor and sunbrella fabric.
Wow.
Yeah, you'd want sunbrella.
Yeah.
Well, what about the store owners? Is there any way we could heavily encourage them to replace themselves?
Not for this grant, but
I mean, I know if the grant paid for it, they would be out of it. But is there no rule or anything that says you must maintain your building, and a rotted, terrible-looking awning isn't taking care of your building?
I agree with that. I don't know. I don't know the rules there. I totally agree. I know Bob does too. I don't know.
I think we can go about it in a more positive manner by offering a grant to help pay for a percentage of those. If we just took the $100,000 and got business owners to donate money and replaced every awning on the square, that would increase the look of the square dramatically.
Oh, definitely.
You know, and of course, some of them are, you know, are molded out. You know, they bought a bunch of the businesses bought that same. It looks like the same awning that's on the old Silver Moon and that's on several other buildings. Every one of them's got the mold all over it. So I don't know if they got a deal on it or what, but it just kind of rough looking.
Right. Well, they've been up there. That one has looked terrible for 10 years, I know.
Right. The metal
They've
and the
probably
wood
been up
awnings
25.
yeah. The metal and the wood awnings are going to be more expensive to replace than the canvas ones.
Yeah.
I kind of like that
That'd
shaped
be more
shingle.
permanent, though.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be.
Okay.
Any other ideas though that you would like me to pursue about getting pricing or anything for that downtown grant? I know it's not a lot of money. I'm trying to get the most for our money.
Right. I love our new little benches where, you know, in the few places they are. And I love the new garbage cans. They are so nice looking.
I agree. I agree. And we
Yeah,
will be,
getting rid of the old garbage cans might be something nice.
well, and
Right.
we're actually looking at spray paint. Jeep and I were talking about just using Rust-Oleum spray paint and spraying those old garbage cans. That'll make them look brand new.
That would.
Mhm. And we could put them in areas that don't have the new ones.
Exactly.
know.
Yeah.
Like down there where the doctor's office was, Morris Clinic, and places like that. That where there's not one already.
Right.
Well, let's look into that.
How much are those benches?
They're 11 to 12. I believe they're $1,200 total, and that's for an 8-foot bench. We can get a little bit cheaper, but the shipping on them is a little bit more. But they are commercial benches, and they would be connected to the concrete.
It's $1,200 each, right?
Yeah, it's right in there. If we were to get 8-foot benches, they have 6 and 4-foot benches, so we can, they're just a couple $100 difference.
That's per bench, or
Yes,
for
Yes.
all four? That's per bench.
Yes.
Wow.
That's a little high, isn't it?
We need to go
Yeah,
into the
it is.
bench business.
No kidding. I agree. I agree.
They are nice looking.
Could any of this money be used to start the arcade project?
It could be, but I don't know how far it would get us.
What else could we do? What kind of grant could we do to do that arcade?
They mentioned a placemaker's grant for that. I'm not really sure how we would go about doing that. But I have looked into it. I just honestly
I don't
haven't
think it
had
fits,
a chance.
Mindy.
But,
I don't think it fits,
I
do
kind
you?
of agree. Well, that's why when the ladies mentioned the placemaker grant for that, I'm having a hard time understanding how it would make sense.
I think the tourism grant is the best chance, don't you think?
Well, I with the tourism grant,
Yeah, I know. Tier 1 county.
I mean, right. It's like, they loved our grant, but because so many distressed counties applied, we were knocked out of the running.
Yeah, but they
So-
also said that they're not really sharp on giving tourism money to museums, which sounds kind of backwards to me. But
Right.
anyway, I don't know why, but anyway, so that was one of the other things I think. So if we came up with a different project and tried that, we could always try that again and and put that in for the tourism grant. I guess next year if they have it again, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How far is that a $15,000 one?
That's a $150,000 top with a 50% match.
Oh, okay.
So it would be 75 of ours and 75 of theirs if we did the full grant possibility. But we could do
Wow.
100 and do 50-50, We don't
Well, and-
necessarily have to
Well,
do
we
100.
need to do that arcade up right if we do it. I mean,
Right.
Well, and the ADA concrete, the cobblestone concrete, I believe that was around $75,000. That's the largest.
Ooh-wee.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's a lot of area, and they would
Well,
have
they
to
have to
break
jack
up.
up the
Right.
old concrete, and then they have to lay down all new concrete in order to do it,
Right.
in order to get it to drain properly and do it correctly.
Mm.
So that's where
Is
the
there a
arcade.
problem with water pooling on it now?
It doesn't seem to be now, but they wanted to make sure that the grade was right so it would drain properly.
And the
Um,
varying thresholds too, going into the
Right.
doors.
So they'd have to build that up a bit,
So
and just go ahead.
the 150,000 would probably cover the whole arcade.
Yes.
Yeah, 150 should 120 to 150 should do the whole arcade project properly.
Right, okay.
But I mean, we're looking at another 2 years probably for that to come available.
Oh, darn.
Yeah.
I wonder how well it works to paint concrete.
It's been done.
I mean, I'm trying to think of something along the lines of painting it, putting some tables, putting some crisscross lights, and maybe using some local talent, even high schoolers, to do some sort of painting on the wall.
Well, and the
get it
murals
done
aren't,
for you know,
the mur-
$5,000.
the murals aren't that expensive. You can get a mural, a decent sized mural like the one that we looked at last year for about $3,500.
Yeah.
The furnishings aren't crazy expensive. It's just the concrete.
And we would put some added raised beds and stuff like that in there. Then
Yeah,
wasn't that in that drawing?
We could purchase, actually, those are actually just concrete planters. They look like
Okay.
they're built in, but they're just concrete.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Well, some of the concrete would have to be repaired. There are some places that need fixing. Probably
Yes.
need to go ahead
So-
and fix them now, to tell you the truth. So we need to come up with some things on that to look at.
When do you need to turn in this downtown grant project list, Mindy?
There's no set time. I mean, we're trying to fast track
But they
it,
want us
so
to do
we
it by the end of the year, right?
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, if we could get it by next, if not this month's board meeting, next month's for sure. Because I want us to be able to apply for the facade grant, which hopefully will open up in 2021. And because we're a downtown community, we'll be eligible to apply for that. And so that's kind of why we're wanting to fast track it. And actually, Laura Todd, she said, you guys, are set. You guys have got all of your ducks in a row. We can fast track you fairly quickly. You've got, with Andy's work and the work that I did on the grant, they said we've already done a lot of the work that they normally would do with us.
So we just need to put this thing together by the next board meeting and get some approval at the next board meeting of what we need to do.
Yes, if you guys are ready to approve something now, or for next board meeting, or if we need to put it on hold and wait another month.
I think if you could pull it together, I'm not a big fan of $1,200 benches myself, but
I thought that was quite high myself. I looked at some that were 800, but they're all fairly expensive if they're commercial.
I really don't know. I'm trying to imagine really why they would ever be used.
If we could get the downtown going, I think people would sit in it, would use them.
All right, but now where can you put them? That's the other thing.
So the 4 areas that we can place them are.
I'm bringing it up.
There we go. Yeah, thanks, Bob.
Okay, there you go.
The 4 areas that we could place them, 2 on either side of the chamber, that would still continue to be ADA compliant, and 2 on the outside of the museum where the mural would be placed. The rest of the spaces on Farmers Hardware and where the Fair Theater are, those sidewalks aren't large. They're not wide enough. So that's kind of the issue. Now, once we, get all of that going, hopefully we would have, more spaces once those are ADA compliant, but you have to have 5-foot sidewalks to be able to put a bench on it and still be compliant.
Wouldn't that work in front of the Falcon on that sidewalk?
Well, they with that grant, they placed two benches in front. They placed one in front of the Falcon and then one somewhat in front of the veterinarian. So we got two new benches from that.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I have no idea why anybody would sit on the side of the museum on a bench.
I don't either.
I mean,
Well,
Number
that's
one-
why I'm.
and
They're
again,
going
on
to sit
the,
there while they are deciding where they're going to go to lunch.
as
Women
long
are
as
going to
it's
sit down and say, let's get this together.
as long as it's after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because otherwise
But
it's
you're just
hot
sitting right
there.
out in the sun.
Yeah.
Well, that's
honestly,
true.
I thought we would have more places that we could put them, but when I started measuring sidewalks, I was like, this is all we've got. So
We can come up with some more ideas maybe this week, Mindy,
yeah,
and put something together, a list of stuff that we, with estimated costs, and then get them to approve that at the next board meeting.
yeah. Basically, what I'm waiting on is just a call back and a meeting with Ken. So we're just kind of waiting on, his estimates and ideas and going from there.
And then we can bring back one from column A and two from column B type approach.
That's right.
Okay. Next item is the Tennessee Tourism Cares Marketing Program.
This is an item that they called us up. Marty Mabry is our regional director of tourism. She called me and she said, hey, would you be willing to participate in this fund? Basically, this is a Tennessee Tourism Cares Marketing Program. Every county in the state of Tennessee got a minimum of $25,000 to spend on tourism marketing. And it has to do with COVID and how that will affect, we want to make sure that everybody knows that Tennessee is open for tourists, things like that. Now, this is somewhat of a difficult grant to get, or to figure out how to spend. They have already approved several of the items that I've mentioned. I do have a webinar tomorrow with all of the counties, and they have been super helpful with talking about what they're going to use it for. Some of them obviously are larger than us, some of them are smaller, but this seems to be the consistent items that everybody was interested in, spending their money on. So what we're looking at, because this is a Fayette County tourism grant, we are looking at helping out all of Fayette County. We would start out with, I think, Bob, on the hand sanitizers, basically hand sanitizer stands. These could be used for festivals while they're not in use. Can you go back to the second or third one, Bob? It's a hand sanitizer. Yeah, there you go. So these would be used at Cotton Festival, Fayette County Town Halls, things like that. We would purchase 35 of these. We would give them a minimum of 2 to every town. We would give, several to the Fayette County Chamber for their festival, several to all the locations, UT Martin, things like that, and then the filler. They have approved.
Oakland for their Oktoberfest and Rossville for their barbecue festival and other things.
Right. And so there's a portion of the $25,000, and you can go to the next one. They said that the masks for festivals and communities that would be customized, that was an approvable expense for this Tennessee Marketing CARES Act funding. The next one is
A billboard.
Well, no, not a billboard. This is a
Oh, the
video.
video.
Yes, much like the the day tripping video that we did. This is already passed. They said this is an acceptable thing. This would be showing all of Fayette County tourism, and it would just be tourism, you know, destinations. The next one would be for outdoor hand sanitizers, for one for University Park, one for Rossville Walking Trail, one for Oakland Walking Trail. And I'm sure we can figure out a couple other tourist destinations that might need these. And then, so that's basically where it ends. They told me the benches would be a capital expense. They liked my reasoning, but they said they couldn't do that. And an awning would be a capital expense. So those two are already out. And I just found that out today. But that's what we're looking at doing with those funds. Is there anything marketing wise with tourism that you all would be interested in? I did look into a billboard. There's one location right at our exit for Somerville that is available, and it's facing coming from Jackson to Memphis. That would be $2,000 per month and $1,000 a month after that if we chose to do that. I don't know if that's something that you all think would be worthwhile or anything else that you guys would. Again, it's got to be tourism marketing for Fayette County.
Not easy.
I thought about pamphlets for the county with, you know, a list of, you know, items that we can do. We did do a tourism asset grant about 3 years ago, and I could certainly use that. What they gave as our assets, our town square was the #1 and #2 ranked. I could certainly come up with that, but I have to spend these funds by November 2nd. And that's a whole lot of stuff to do in a very short amount of time. The video will take, you know, a while, and then the creating those pamphlets. But is there anything that you all can think of that would be useful?
Wow.
Yeah.
And it has to be related to health is
COVID and tourism. Those are
COVID.
not two things that really go together.
I think it's just making tourism safer, right, Mindy?
Yeah.
Is the
Yes,
idea.
well, and promoting, you know, tourism in our county.
Well,
We
you
can
know,
come up with.
music is good for the soul. Oh, Lordy, that's a tough one.
I know.
This will be a reimbursable grant. We will have to spend the money and then get reimbursed. So we will be getting pre-approval for our items to be purchased. I think we just need to talk to different towns and find out what they're interested in. The chamber, find out what they're interested in. She's already done some of that. Some of this, we just came up with ideas on how to spend this $25,000.
Did they have a recommended list of ideas?
So there are
No.
four webinars over the next month, one every week on Wednesday from lunchtime, 12 to 1. So they're going to give us some more guidance on these things.
Now the tourism marketing, there's only one for that one.
Oh, okay.
Now the rest of the CARES Act, I'm sure that is covered, but the tourism so far, they've only told me about one, and that's tomorrow.
That's right. I'm sorry. I'm getting my CARES Act mixed up there.
Well, it's kind of confusing anyway, right. But so yeah, and I had a long meeting with the chamber. They approved of everything that, you know, I'm presenting to you as well. And you know.
And every county is getting this, Mindy?
Yes, ma'am. The
Yes.
minimum of $25,000, and some of them are getting, quite a bit
Lots
more.
of money.
It's just based on our tourism percentages.
Yeah. Could you call a county like where Savannah is? Is that Hardin County?
Well,
Savannah and Bolivar or some of those places? And
they will be on that call. The problem is, I don't know, they haven't told us who the designated person for who has the funding for this. So I don't know. It could be some people's chambers, it could be some counties, it could be some town.
okay.
So I'm
Yeah.
hoping to get some more information on that tomorrow.
Okay.
How were we selected versus Fayette County, since it's a countywide grant?
I honestly am not real sure. I think it's because I have a good relationship with our tourism director. But honestly, Mayor, I don't know. How are we so lucky?
Well, let's be sure and talk to the other cities and see what they have in mind, what they
Yes,
might
sir.
could use. And so in 2 weeks, we would, I'm sure, have a much better idea of what we can do, right?
I
Yes, sir.
sure am praying.
Hopefully tomorrow after the conference call.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so
Ma-
more information to come at the board meeting on that.
Mayor,
Yes.
can I say something?
You certainly may.
Thank you, Mike French. I've looked up and been looking up. There are 5 blues musicians from Somerville.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the 5?
Oh, yes. It's been in several of my presentations.
Okay, I didn't know you had all 5 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, I mean, I know of 4 off the top of my head. Give me your list. Make sure I've got them all.
I will. I'll get it to you. One of them is Herbert Brewster, who was the pastor of East Trigg Baptist Church. I knew him personally. And Elvis
Yes.
that Elvis used to go down there and listen to him.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was born in Somerville. Unfortunately, I don't have addresses for these blues musicians where they lived or where they don't give you addresses, because we could certainly put landmarks there. But
Right.
those guys are the ones that we want to have in our museum.
Right. And possibly, I said something to the mayor about a mural where people could stand in front of it and get their picture taken with the mural, of the
I
person.
totally agree. That'll be huge. That is a big deal right now.
I think so too. Thank you.
Could you send me a list of the 5? I'd be interested in knowing who they are.
I will, Mayor, and where you can find them on the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mayor, I've got their biographies and music from them and all kinds of
Do you
interesting
have
stuff
that
if you'd like it.
where you could email that?
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to see all that if
I would
possible.
too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just email it out to everybody.
Okay.
All right. I'll get with you, Minnie. We'll compare our list.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, so there'll be lots of information to follow on the Tennessee Tourism Cares Marketing Program for the board meeting. Fire stats.
Before we move to the fire stats, Mayor, also the Tennessee CARES Act, that we got $48,000 plus from the state for, we did get pre-approved to purchase those 2 vehicles. I will have the letter in writing for the board at the board meeting. So we can buy 2 vehicles, 2 pickup trucks for the street department using, it would cost us about $49,000 plus, just a little over $49,000. We're going to get $48,000 of that in grant money. So anyway, that was pre-approved today. We just haven't received the written letter. We should get it. They thought we were going to get it this afternoon, but we're going to get it tomorrow at some point. So that'll be on the board meeting agenda next month also.
Okay.
I'm sorry, on the 14th.
That was money that was appropriated to each city and county to pay for COVID-related expenses.
Right. And so to keep social distancing on our employees, rather than having 3 people ride in one vehicle, we'll have three vehicles for them to ride in, because we'll have these 2 new ones plus the other one. So that's the idea that we talked to the state about, and they agreed with it.
As long as they put it in writing.
It's going to be in writing tomorrow, as far as I know.
Okay.
Fire stats.
Anything you need to point out?
I did get all the updated response times and everything from Jeremy the other day, so that's all up to date. Everything is basically running along as usual. About 80% of our responses are for EMS calls still.
Any questions on that? Police stats?
Here are the police stats.
Chief Webb is still trying to connect.
He's probably,
He
I
must
bet
have
Chief
gone
Webb
to
is only
bed and just
connecting with
left
his
his
pillow.
phone on.
He's probably only connecting with his pillow at this point.
Yeah. Okay, anything that needs to be pointed out here that you're aware of?
No, sir. All right, looks like traffic stops have increased a little bit. Citations have increased a little bit from the last few months. That's it.
Okay. So it
This is
appears
Chief.
that they're going to open court back up in October.
We have 4 court dates scheduled for October every Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock. The first and third Tuesdays are pretty much booked up. We'll be using the second and fourth. There are some open spots that we can use for code enforcement issues and that kind of thing. So yeah, court's opening up again October, whatever that first Tuesday is, 6th, I think, in October.
Okay. Any questions on that? Review building permits issued.
Here's the list of building permits, sign permits and such. Really, things are really rolling along. Again, 5 new housing starts this month. According to the man building those homes out there at Hedgerows, I think he's got them all sold already. He's got 15 houses started right now.
In Hedgerows?
Yes, sir. Some of
They
them are
look
just,
good too.
yeah, some of them are just sticks on the ground, but he's got them going. I don't know how she's spelling building there, but she probably needs to spell check that. Fiddling. But I think it's, moving along with the permits.
Okay. Any questions on that? Code enforcement?
Here's the code enforcement list. Stacy is doing it by day, so you can see what's happening every day that she works on it. It starts July 29th because that July 29th stuff was not in the packet last time. We're showing you how many issues have been resolved. So at the top, whoops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Just hang on a second. I'm almost back. All right, so there have been, this month, there were 53 violations addressed, 40 violations were resolved. So that was either resolved with like a door hanger or a letter or a stronger letter. We didn't send anybody to court this month because we didn't have any court. anyway, are there any questions on that?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Is that 1470, it says furniture in the yard? Is that down before you get to my street?
sure
'Cause
is.
there was there was a couch out there the other day, I
It
noticed.
was, again, another
It
one?
was probably, Thursday or Friday that I went by there.
Okay, I'll tell her. She goes out on Thursday afternoons.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, she goes out like right after lunch on Thursday.
Well,
That's
maybe
her
it was
date.
resolved. It says it was resolved.
It was
so-
all, it was resolved on earlier in the month, on 8/7.
Okay, that was
I'll
before.
talk to her about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but the guy at the corner of Levy and Warren Road, he sprayed his grass so he doesn't have to cut it anymore. Did you notice
Did he
that?
sprayed it?
He sprayed it with Roundup or something, yeah. Anyway, I guess he
may
won't have
do
to cut
that.
it for a while.
I may do that in my field over here. I'm glad y'all don't come down here.
Yeah, we don't get down to your house. We don't get down
Thank
that
goodness. Thank goodness.
far. Well, I don't know. I don't go driving around with her, so she might. Who knows where she goes?
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
A pretty significant list.
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to see so many are resolved.
Yeah.
Yes, without really threatening people. Mostly telephone calls, door hangers, a letter to somebody that does, not living there. She's been talking to landlords rather than the people that live there, which is a good thing. Anyway, she's done a really good job so far.
Good.
Director's report, community development.
All right. Probably the first thing that we might want to talk about is the trick-or-treating on the square. I don't know if we're ready to talk about that, but it has been mentioned a couple of times to me. Is that something we're wanting to do or not do? I don't want
Well,
to
obviously we would
force-
like to do it, but I just don't know if it's
Right.
safe to do it.
Well, and I almost feel like I don't want to, do that. And then businesses, like you said, Mayor, it's the safety of it. And I don't want businesses to feel like they have to participate. And if they don't participate, they have to close the business. It's kind of a catch. It's just, there's no right answer. So, that has been.
Let's hold off and see. We still have, in my opinion, plenty of time to do that.
Okay.
See what happens with schools opening back up.
Okay.
I noticed that they have 1,000 cases at the University of Alabama suddenly.
Yes, I saw that. And yes, Fate Academy, we just got word that the 6th through 12th is quarantined due to a teacher having that. So, part of that school is quarantined for 2 weeks. So yeah, it's an interesting deal. We did we did have the first formal downtown committee meeting. So that was great. Mike, I did contact Keep Tennessee Beautiful regarding signage, enforcement, etc. I spoke to him. They are not working in their office right now. They're working from home. So he was having a difficult time kind of trying to determine how they would want to handle that. I have not heard from him since, I believe, I don't know, it was mid-month, something like that. I guess it was the 12th of August. They did say that they would help us, but they weren't sure how they would go about doing that. They did mention having a webinar with our board of directors, or our mayor and board of aldermen, and also getting the sheriff's department, police department, things like that out there. They said many times they request all of us go out and do some litter pickup and things like that, just to show the community that we care. He did talk about signage, but again, I'm kind of waiting to hear from him. He said his director would be contacting me. So that is in motion. It's just slow motion. Let's see. We've talked about the monuments.
Thank you, Mindy. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just sorry that it's so
Oh, that's
slow.
fine.
And
At least we're doing something. Thank you.
yeah, we're trying. We're trying.
Okay.
I think we pretty much discussed everything else in here. We did complete and submit the Blue Cross Blue Shield park grant. The initial cleanup, the phase 1 initial cleanup was done this weekend for the old part of the square. I was able to walk that today. It does look much, much better. There are a few things that they missed. And I will be sending them an email and just saying, hey, you know, you missed a couple of spots or, you know, whatever. So we've got that going on. But that does look much better, especially like in front of Ricky Rosser's building. They cleaned that up in front of the chamber. That all looks very good. Oh, we also had this is one of the more major, but it's kind of ongoing. ABC is interested in filming a television show. It would be a mini series here in Somerville. They're interested in the courthouse and several other buildings that we have. We've met with them 2 or 3 times in person and over the phone. They're still very, very interested. I had about 5 people with me last Friday, and we took a tour. I walked them through what we've got. We're not at the stage where negotiations are starting and, you know, their needs and wants and all of that. But I did want to let you know that that is, you know, Lynn Siegler with the Memphis Film Association. She was with them, and we actually put photos of Somerville on their website a couple of years ago. And we're starting to get, you know, every year we're getting someone calling. It doesn't mean it's happening, but we are getting someone calling. This would be filmed January, February, and it would be about 6 weeks of filming, 4 to 6 weeks filming. So just to let you know, and obviously we would come to you as soon as, you know, they have an offer on the table or whatever, but that is happening.
All right, I've got to ask, I'm sure you've told us this before, but under marketing in January 2020, you had a post go viral with over 1,000 likes and added 700 followers to our page. I've got to know what that is.
You know, honestly, I would have to look at it. I don't know myself. I don't, you know, it's one of those things that is kind of crazy to me that it even happens like that. I honestly don't know what, it was something funny, I'm sure, because nobody pays attention to the serious stuff.
Okay. If it's not too much trouble, I'd like to know what that was.
I could probably find it for you.
Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Planning Commission report.
We discussed the zoning ordinance, of course. That's what we're working on. We started to talk about, you know, the next things we want to take a look at, which is kind of a step-by-step checklist on just about everything that we can do with the planning, with the zoning ordinance and you know, applying for different things. And we, at the design review, we discussed Memphis contract packaging, which we again discussed today and approved a preliminary, well, we didn't actually approve anything. We just gave them some more guidelines on what we want on their final site plan. So I think everything is caught up to date and they're ready to move forward with that site plan for the Palmyra building.
just to hear him talk, I think it's going to be a whole lot nicer than what we even
Yes,
set as guidelines.
I think so too.
So,
Okay, items E and F, I guess we've basically already discussed and decided to take that to the board for further discussion.
I think
G-
everything's done through 4B, Mayor.
Okay,
The town square maintenance bid opening is, the flower bed maintenance contract bid opening is on the 10th. I will have those bids available at the board meeting. I've already received 2 sealed bids, so we actually have bids this time.
okay,
It's a bi-weekly, not in every week. It's a bi-weekly contract. So we'll see what happens.
okay. The specifications for the tractor with the plow we've discussed.
Right. Letter D.
Review the ESRI contract.
The ESRI contract, that's the contract we use. That's the software we use for the GIS department. I think it renews every 3 years or so. They are changing this type of software they are requesting that we go to. Since we are using the current software, I wouldn't say illegally, it's just we're exceeding the what they think the original software was supposed to be used for. And this new software will allow us to do many different additional things. So currently the annual contract is $10,000 per year. This would increase to $15,000 per year, but it would allow us to maintain records for a whole bunch of different things that we can keep track of. We can keep track of fire stats, where we can show hot zones on fire and responses or EMS responses, zoning issues, sidewalk problems, police responses. We can keep track of a whole bunch of stuff and come up with some new data that we haven't had in the past. This will help us spot places for, well, if we ever grow to another place where we need a new firehouse, we could actually show where that firehouse should be going. So I think it's good stuff. And they're really requesting that we update this and Keith needs this software. It's everything he's done, all the work he's done for the last 6 years is on this software. So it's basically a proprietary purchase. In order to change it, we'd have to change everything we do. So.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, we'll take that to the board.
I think that's it.
We've done that. Other properly presented business. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to bring up tonight?
I would like to bring up something. I was driving into town the other day, and the flower beds around the courthouse look awful.
They do.
They look
So,
absolutely terrible.
So now that once we award a contract to someone, it is possible that the county might be interested in piggybacking off of our contract to
I
do
hope so.
the work on those beds.
Good.
Literally, the Johnson grass at the steps is 3 feet tall.
I know. It's just,
Unless it's been cut since last week. I mean, it is a disgrace. Dead plants, overgrown plants, weeds. I mean, it's an eyesore.
Yeah, it is. And for it to be the centerpiece of Somerville, it just is embarrassing.
I agree.
Okay, so have you been in touch with the county mayor about that? The fact that you said he might want to piggyback on any contract we.
Yes, I have. He's interested.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, well, we will not see you next Monday night. We will see you 2 weeks from now.
Thanks for that, Mayor. I appreciate it.
Mr. Lofties, you sure have been quiet tonight.
Just trying to be observant.
Okay. Anything else for anybody?
Nothing
All right.
else.
See y'all in a couple of weeks.
All right.
Yeah, have a
Okay.
good week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Good night.